Welcome, Thrive presenters, to this recorded version of our presenter training. My name is Lucy Gray, and I'm going to quickly go over some of the logistics of the conference. Um, and we're looking forward to seeing you online March 4th and 5th. If you have any questions, you can always email me at Lucy Gray Consulting. That's the best way to get hold of me. Um, but without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This conference was um, developed over the last, I don't know, 6 to 8 months as part of Actionable Innovations Global, an organization that I run that delivers online professional development, mostly to teachers, via the Ring Central Events platform. We are doing this in partnership with the Charter for Compassion, which I work for part-time. And we're really excited about it because we think that uh, people need to find one thing that they can do to preserve democracy in their situation. And that means people in the United States where things are in jeopardy, but also around the world where the fight to preserve democracy has been going on maybe longer, and in different ways. So we hope that people will find one thing that they can do in their own sphere. But we also hope that organizations and people will network and perhaps find opportunities for collaboration between organizations and such. So that's really the purpose here, is to give people a safe, positive forum for sharing strategies, ideas, inspiration on preserving the rule of law and democracy. So our essential question that we're trying to get at is how do we activate more people to be active participants in democracies around the world? So please keep that in mind as you develop your presentations, because we really want to give people practical strategies for moving forward. So if I can move my slides, that might help. All right, so here is the current timeline and some of the resources that are available to you. And I will send a link to these slides along with this recording, so that you can access the links here. So there is a support center for Ring Central events that you should be able to access, and you can search and look at tutorials and that sort of thing. We also have a dashboard for the public and for presenters on more detailed conference information. It's in a platform called Notion. You don't need to have a Notion account or anything. It's basically a published website. And we also have a conference flyer that is translatable in different languages, and you can share it on social media or through email with people in your network. A really important part of the conference is you sharing information about it on your social media channels as well as and we'll do it on ours so that people will and our networks will join. So we extended the call for proposals till this Sunday, February 15th. And that's what after that I will be finishing, and that should be February 16th, not January 16th. I will be giving you a link to a spreadsheet with the link to your room, and you'll be able to go in and practice. You have until, if you have not scheduled your session yet, as per the directions you received when you had your proposal accepted, that deadline is March 1st. You need to have that in scheduled so that we can add you to the spreadsheet with backdoor links to your rooms. So hopefully this next week, as soon as possible, I will get you that spreadsheet so that you can go in and practice and try some of the things out that I'm going to show you. So we highly recommend that you get into your room before your session. Don't wait till the day of to test your audio, your video, screen sharing, and that sort of thing. Most people will be in session rooms, and I'll explain that in a minute. If you are presenting on a stage, which you won't really know until you see the spreadsheet, you can book an appointment with me, and I can help you learn to use the platform, and there'll be somebody there to help you too during your presentation. So, my slides don't want to move this morning. There we go. So you are really kind of key to our success. And we're so excited and happy that you're being part of this, that you want to share your work with the world at this kind of unique event. And so you play a role in building this community. And we hope that you'll get the word out so that we fill the rooms as much as possible with attendees. At this point, the attendance is low right now, the enrollment in the conference. So we all need to do our part to promote the conference. We don't have a big budget for promotion and that sort of thing. So we're depending on word of mouth, social media, personal invitations to people to come to this. So, I also hope this is not the end of Thrive in terms of a one-time event. I hope that we can do this again and build momentum with other virtual meetups like this. So you're really a key part of the promotion pipeline here, and we hope that you'll get the word out to your network. The resources that we have available for you to promote the conference include ready-to-use social media graphics, social media posts that you can copy and customize, and that sort of thing. And those are in the dashboard, the conference dashboard. And also, I will send direct links to this stuff too as well. There is a conference flyer that I mentioned earlier. I can show you what it looks like right now, I think. I have it open. This is what it looks like from my perspective. And you'll be able to, let's see if I can preview this. This is what it will look like for you. You can share this flyer on social media. You can embed it on your website. You can also translate it into different languages via Google Translate. And there's also some accessibility features available too for people who need that. So there's a link for it, and you'll have access to this, and you can share this with people. To make things easier. It is also printable theoretically, if people need that. So that is these are some of the resources that we have available for you in terms of getting the word out. And I think that the multi-language flyer is really particularly helpful because it automatically translates, for people who need that. One of the things, and if you want to, by the way, you can present in any language you want to, but I need to know what that language is so that I can mark it in the schedule for people. Um, this was intended to be a global event too, and we've had the proposals we received so far. We've gotten a lot of international proposals, so I'm really excited about that aspect of it because I think we can learn from people here in the United States. We can learn from people who've been through, um, this in recent years. So some ways to promote include using social media, perhaps doing email outreach to your friends and colleagues, posting to professional networks like listservs or Discord communities or LinkedIn, and then institutional channels. You can ask your organization or institution to help promote if you'd like to, or you can share this at team meetings, that sort of thing. So these are just some ideas on how you can help us. These are some examples of social media posts that you could use. Um, we have graphics that you can use in our dashboard toolkit. So you're more than welcome to adapt any of this. These are just some ideas for you in terms of how you're using social media. If you want to make a video in TikTok and talk and promote your session, that would be awesome. That sort of thing. It depends on your comfort level with using technology and social media. Let's talk some specifics about the conference and what you need to do to prepare yourself. So there are some technical setup requirements, and it's important that you follow these directions or else you may run into some technical issues. The required browser is Chrome. You might be able to get access the platform through Microsoft Edge and Firefox, but Safari is not ideal, um, unfortunately, but Chrome works the best. And you may have compatibility issues if you don't use that. So just want to make sure that you're aware of that. We recommend you can share your whole screen. You can share a PowerPoint presentation. You can share a PDF. in RingCentral events, but really the best way to do it is through Google Slides. And if you use PowerPoint, you may know that you can convert your PowerPoints to Google Slide presentations pretty easily. And if you need help with that, let us know and we can assist. But this really works well with Chrome, and to keep things simple, we recommend that you use Chrome as your browser and Google Slides as your presentation tool. You're not required to use slides by any means, but I think from a professional perspective, you do want to have something, a couple slides at least, that have the title of your presentation and your contact information and that sort of thing, because people will watch the recordings and may want to follow up with you in some way. So keep that in mind as we proceed. So in Chrome, you need to make sure that your browser can access your microphone and your webcam. And we prefer that you present with your webcam on, unlike what I'm doing right now, so that people can see you and get to know you a little bit. You don't necessarily have to have the video on, but we recommend it. So in your Chrome settings, there's a menu for called privacy and security, and you need to go into that and make sure that your camera and microphone are allowed to access sites. And you want to make sure that it's not, RingCentral Events is not blocked, um, from using your camera and your microphones. So you want to test this ahead of time. There is a pre-event check that the RingCentral events will take you through to make sure everything's working properly. And we highly recommend that you use that in order to make sure that you're ready to go. So, in terms of your presentation space, I think we have three different types. We actually only two are listed here, but we have a third type. We have lightning talks that are 20 minutes. We want you to present for 20 minutes and then leave a 10-minute buffer for the next session. If you go over, it's not the end of the world. Nothing stops recording, but just be aware of that. And those are usually starting on the half hour in our schedule. In general sessions are 50 minutes. Again, we'd like to have that 10-minute buffer so people can take a little bit of a break before the next set of sessions. Um, and the lightning ones should be really quick. Um, you're kind of getting the word out about your organization or your idea. There's not a lot of time for interaction. In general sessions, there's definitely more interaction in general. There's also a third type that some of you may have signed up for, and there are not very many sessions because I don't want them conflicting with other sessions. But we have 90-minute workshops too, and those should be interactive. Um, my guess is that, people are going to opt more for the shorter sessions, so be prepared for a light audience in case. People do not sign up ahead of time for the workshops, other than registering for the conference, so you don't really have an idea of how many people will show up. So just be aware of that and try to make things as interactive as you can in order to engage people over that period of time. If you don't fill the whole 90 minutes, it's not the end of the world too. Um, but you have a little bit bigger block of time than other sessions in which you can lead your workshop. So, most people are going to be in session rooms. This is one type of presentation room. You'll have full control without needing a lot of support from us. We will be checking on your rooms to make sure that you're good to go and that sort of thing, and we'll be in and out monitoring things. But you're going to have access to a full suite of interactive tools, including breakout rooms, emojis, virtual confetti. You can allow people to turn on their audio and video if you want them to be interactive with you, and it's best for workshops and discussions. There are open rooms which the default is going to be moderated. If you want an open room, people can turn on their audio and video at any time. Um, you don't have all the fancy features of a moderated room, including breakouts, I believe, in an open room. So I don't particularly recommend it, but if you want that, we can make that happen. In a session room, for the most part, and I think in both open and moderated types of session rooms, you can do all these things. There's a new feature for sharing materials. So if you have a handout or we want to share your slides, you can upload those ahead of time. There's a Q&A management queue. So if people want to use that to, as a dedicated space for questions, you can use that. There are breakout rooms if you have a large audience and you want to um, uh, have everybody talk for a little while. Breakout rooms are not recorded, though, I don't think. So just be aware of that. And then just like in Zoom, and interactive polls are available to for the whole event, which I strongly discourage you to use because that's really for the whole audience. And you may have the ability to do that, but we want you to just to do interactive polls for your session room. And I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. And then there's a live chat with your room where people can share resources and introduce themselves and that sort of thing. You can have a background in there. You can blur your background when you're on camera, and you can upload a custom one as well. You can, I recommend using Canva to create your own background and that sort of thing. And it makes things look a little bit more polished. So those are some of the features of a session room. Some people will be keynotes and featured speakers will be on stages. This requires more admin support, and we have to put you on stage as admins. And this is a little bit about how it works. You do not have breakout rooms. There is a live chat, there is a polling, there is resource sharing, and that sort of thing. And so that's a little bit of a different type of room that you really need to meet with me to jump into if you'd like to get a feel for it ahead of time. All of these rooms record. In session rooms, the recording starts automatically. And so as soon as you get into your room and you turn on your audio and video, the recording was going to start. So our tip is to turn on your audio video right before your start time so that you have a nice clean recording and not all of your setup is recorded. Okay. So just so that you know that. And then we have a replay section where the recordings are going to go after some light editing. We have to publish those, and it takes a little while to do that. So they'll be available hopefully as quickly as possible after your session, but just realize that there's some manual human work behind there. We will give you a link to download your recording within a week of the conference so that you can use that recording however you wish. So that will be after the conference. It says here that there's a professional slide template. We'll create one. You don't have to use it, but if you need to you want a template to use for yourself, I can make one for you, and you can use it accordingly. In terms of design of your presentation, think about accessibility for people and usually high contrast, keeping text, fairly to a minimum, using large fonts, that sort of thing. You also want to think about how you're presenting for a global audience. And you want to avoid idioms and references that might not be familiar to people outside of your home country. um, think about that kind of thing so that you may want to kind of speak your visuals too, so that people have an idea of what you're talking about as well. So these are just some thoughts on designing for your presentation. Here's your checklist of things to do in terms of preparation: promote your session, practice in your room, test your technology, and then make sure that you join ahead of time your room on the presentation day to make sure everything's working. So those are some tips there. In terms of engaging your audience, here are some tips on how to do that. You don't necessarily need to follow these step by step. These are just suggestions on how to make your presentation come alive. And it's a little bit different than presenting in person. And you can make it interactive and human-centered if you wish. So try to be intentional with what you're trying to accomplish. Um, and you can also, by the way, use video. YouTube, have your videos in YouTube is probably the best way to do it. You probably could use a Vimeo video or something similar and share your screen too. But just be aware of some of these strategies. Um, Here's some tips for success in terms of presenting. I find it very difficult to look at the camera when I'm speaking and not at my screen. It will look like your eyes are below the camera, level if you do that. So you try to position your camera at eye level. It's really hard to do this, I know. Really importantly is that you ensure that you have good lighting. So you don't if it's too dark, then you won't appear on screen in a professional way. So make sure that you have some good lighting in the room that you're using. Um, and again, you can make a background. You can use one of the virtual backgrounds that are provided, or you can blur your background. In terms of screen sharing, this is really, really important. I recommend sharing a tab, not the window. You have an option for sharing a tab in Chrome, a window on your computer, or your whole screen. It works best when you share just a tab. So have all the content you're going to use open in a tab, in separate tabs, and then you can share the tabs as needed. Don't have lots of other things open on your computer because it will just flummox you. It will make things more complicated if you if you have a lot going on your screen. You may want to turn off notifications so that they don't pop up while you're presenting. And make sure in Google Slides or PowerPoint or whatever you're using, don't use Keynote, by the way. Um, when you're in the presenter view, if you're in your slide deck, make sure that you're in the presenter view so that we don't see the little slides on the side of your presentation. We want you to be in presentation mode. And keep things moving if you can. Like this. So some challenges, technical issues. If people are having audio issues, check to make sure that they're muted or unmuted. You can suggest that they leave and rejoin the room. Sometimes refreshing the browser, making sure that they've allowed Chrome access to their microphone and that sort of thing is needed. So back under your privacy settings, you need to make sure that your microphone is enabled, your video is enabled. So because usually the audio problems are related to that. If there's low participation and there's some audience engagement issues, here are some suggestions on how to handle that. If there's people who are disruptive, which we've never had, um, there is a way to, under your moderation tools, to block them and to report them. And attendees can do this as well. And I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. If you're running over with time, try to end by the time the next sessions start. If you're finishing early, maybe you have some questions you want to ask of the audience. If you have technical delays, you may need to, prepare some conversation starters in case you have to keep people occupied while things are being fixed. We have not had a lot of technical issues from our perspective in general. They're usually related to permissions issues related to the camera and the microphone, and we've generally been able to troubleshoot them. Um, there is support available through Ring Central Events too. But they're not super quick at responding. So just be aware of that. We'll try to help you as best we can, but you can also contact Ring Central Events, and I'll show you where to do that. So again, these are some of the interactive tools that are at your disposal. The material sharing, people had difficulty at the last conference figuring out how to do that. So we may need to do some troubleshooting around that, but there is a tab in where the chat is that allows you to share handouts and things like that, which is really nice. And we really would like you to take advantage of that. Here's a checklist for the day of. Um, um, just to kind of remind you of how it should go. After your session, you may want to follow up with participants. You can ask them for their email address or anything if you want to stay in touch with them. We will send you your conference recording and a link to request or certificate for presenting within a week. And we hope that you'll stay in touch and be part of the next one that we do. Again, these are some of the resources and dates that are important. Um, the 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 thing that I really want to emphasize is that it's important to get into your room as soon as you can and practice. It's not hard, but I think for your confidence, the sake of your confidence, you probably want to get in there and make sure that you feel comfortable. So, our final tips for success. We are grateful for your expertise and can't wait for you to share with our audience. We want you to have fun with this. And this does not have to be a stuffy, formal presentation. I think being authentic and human matters here. Strive to you don't have to be perfect in your presentation, but we want you to hopefully be as engaging as possible. And then promotion. Help us promote the conference so that we get as many people in as possible on March 4th and 5th. Keep in mind that sessions are recorded, so if attendance is low, people will go back and watch the recordings. Don't stress out about that, and we'll do our best to get people into the rooms. But it's a collaborative effort. So thank you for making Thrive possible. We'll see you online March 4th and 5th. And here's some final tips. So that's kind of my presentation. I'm going to switch now um, into the conference platform so you can see what it looks like. So this is what registration looks like. This is the registration page, and people can opt for a free day of watching the sessions. They don't have access to recordings or certificates or anything like that if they opt for the free option. Um, uh, and this kind of outlines the conference. I've added everybody to the website too. This is not the conference committee. I should change that title. It's all of our presenters. Um, and everybody should be listed that's been accepted so far. So that is the main site where people register. This is where people will go into the conference. There'll be a blue tab on this page if you're registered when the conference opens, and I probably will open it soon so that people can go in the platform and get comfortable with things. But once the conference is live and people have access to it, there'll be like a little blue button that says something like "Enter the conference" or "Get ready for the conference." And this is where you'll go in if you are registered. I have registered all of the speakers, so you should have received a notification that you have an account created for you in RingCentral Events. You'll access your room through a special link that will give you access early, and that will be in a spreadsheet that I will send to you. You can also go in this way too, but the spreadsheet's the easiest thing because it goes right to your room. All right, so then the event itself, when you enter the event, it will look like this. You want to make sure you create your public profile, which is different than your speaker profile. And you can put in your information in there, and so that people can learn more about you. I'm going to click on preview the event, and this is what the platform looks like when it's live. The schedule will be here. It's not there right now, but here's the description of the event and our media partners. And then there are tabs on the left-hand side that take you to different parts. This is where the stage will be. This is where mostly our featured and keynote speakers will be. Session rooms will be here, and I'll show you what a session room looks like in a moment. And then there's speed networking, and everyone can meet people informally throughout the conference by using this tool. They can also send messages to people who are registered and that sort of thing. We are not using the Expo feature this time, so that probably will not be there. And then under replay, this is where recordings will be. Um, On the right-hand side, I'm going to go back to reception. This is like your home page. This is where the schedule will be. You'll see the bios of the speakers down below. They're not active in here right now, but you will see your name and a link to your profile that people can check out below here if you're a speaker. On the right-hand side, there's a collapsible window that you can open and close if you want more screen. And I usually keep it open. Uh, in here, you'll see that there's an event tab and an agenda tab. And under the event tab, there's some sub tabs. There's chat, where you can chat with people for the whole event. There's people, um, where you can see registrants and you can send them messages. If you click on somebody's profile, you can schedule a meeting right on our platform. You can send them a message. Please use this with wisdom and discretion. You don't want to bug people all the time. But if you want to follow up with somebody after a session or something like that, you can use this tool. Q&A is where questions and answers will be. This is a dedicated space for conference-wide uh, uh, questions, and then us admins will respond to them. If you There will also be a Q&A tab within your session room, so you can use that or not use it. And then there's an area for us to upload documents to share with everyone. So you'll see this event tab and there's sub tabs here. In the chat, you can type a message in and everybody will see it. So you can use that to ask for help if you need it, and um, to introduce yourself and that sort of thing. Okay, so under my agenda, recommended sessions will be here that we recommend. Plus, if you bookmark any session in the schedule, it will show up here as well. So you have a personalized schedule, and there'll be links to the rooms and that sort of thing. At the top, you're going to see a little round icon, and if you've filled in your personal profile, it will show your picture. This is where you manage your RingCentral Events account. You can edit your profile, and there's a help center. So just be aware that you can indicate your interests. Um, you can pick multiple things in your profile. And, you can also control your privacy settings if you don't want to be contacted by anybody other than admins and the platform and that sort of thing. So that is there. Now, so now I want to show you what a session room looks like. And let's see if I can create a session room. I need to go create a session room just for practice sake. I'm going to go to venue, go to sessions, and I'm going to add a session. I'm in the back end right now. I'm just going to create a test room to use to show you what a session room looks like. I'm just going to put something in here. Okay. So that session room is created. It's now visible on our public end of things. It should be. Let's see. Oh, I'm just going to go in through the back end and show you what it looks like. I should have done this earlier. All right, so here is our room. I'm going to go. So this is what a session room will look like. It will be in the schedule, and you'll be able to go into it early once I send you the spreadsheet with the presenter links. So when you come in, this is really, really important. You can see that there's one person here. There's an eyeball. Um, and you will also see if it's recording. There will be like a red button if it's recording. You don't have to touch anything to have the recording start. All you have to do is turn on your audio and video, and the recording will start, and you'll see that in a minute. And so you probably don't want to turn on your audio and video until you're closer to your session. If you test it ahead of time, it will start recording. You turn off your audio and video, it stops recording, And then when you start it again, it starts a new recording, just FYI. So if you want to if you want to help us not have to edit every video, um, you may want to try that, to do all your setup. You can turn on your audio and video while you're doing that, and then turn off your audio and video right before you're going to present, and then turn it on again so that the recording is nice and clean and doesn't have all your setup recorded, if that makes sense. Anyway, it's, if you do record everything, like all your setup and all that sort of thing, that's not a big deal. We can edit it. It just saves some time from the publishing process if you follow what I'm saying. Just be aware that it's recording too, because we've had in a previous conference people um talking about things that they didn't really wish to be recorded and causing, some embarrassment on their end. So please, be aware that you're being recorded so that you don't say things that you don't want recorded. Okay, so I'm in here right now. Notice that there's a third tab on the right-hand side now. We had event, which is the event chat and stuff that's for the whole event. We have my agenda, which is personalized for you. And then we have the session tab. This is the chat, the polls, the people, Q&A, and docs for this room. Okay. And people get mixed up and they post questions in the event chat instead of the session chat. It's very easy to do. What I will do in the next week or so is make these tabs different colors so that it differentiates between them a little bit better. Um, and this is where you can chat with your participants. You can create a poll. Ooh, there's a new thing here where there's an AI suggest poll. That's brand new. I've not seen that before. You can see who's in your room. Sometimes people are in there and they're not turning on their audio and they in a moderated room, they can't turn on their audio and video without asking you for permission. So this way you can see who's here. I also recommend when you introduce yourself, ask people to introduce themselves in the chat. And that way you can also see who's around and that sort of thing. And then documents is where you would add a document. Now, if this doesn't show for you, let me know and I'll help you with that. When you click on somebody's name, again, you can send them a direct message. You can also, I think, report them to there might be three dots somewhere, and you can report them if they're a problem. But we've not really had that issue. So right now I'm in the room. I have not joined the stage as the presenter, and I'm going to do that next. So I'm going to click on join stage, and it's going to lead me through a process to turn on my audio and video. And this is when the recording is going to start, once I've applied this selection. So I can choose a background. Sorry, I have the hiccups. I can, and by the way, if you're having any kind of bandwidth issues, I recommend turning off your video if you have to, because that definitely, in low bandwidth situations, that affects the performance of your session. So if you have to, you can do that. So but in the meantime, you can pick a background. You can choose if you have a webcam and a built-in camera, you can choose which camera you're using, and you can choose which microphone you're using if you're using an external mic. But other than this, you probably don't need to change anything. Under more settings, you can mirror your video and you can remove background noise, which I highly recommend. There's also a way to touch up your video and to give yourself a soft light. I have no idea what that will look like. Let's see. I don't know if that makes much of a difference. But anyway, there's some things here that you can help to polish your presentation. You also have this thing called the pre-event check. And this will take you through a setup process to check your streaming capabilities and offer support if your audio and video is not up to par. So we highly recommend doing this. You don't have to do it every time. But you definitely want to do it for sure the first time that you are going through this process. So click on apply selection and you're on screen. Okay. So, and now you can see in the upper right hand corner that recording is happening. And you can see a button that says stop sharing audio and video. If I stop that, um, there we go. The recording now stops. So then I can join the stage again, apply my settings, and I am recording once again. Um, so down below, you can mute your microphone and unmute. You can turn off your camera. Again, it's still recording. You can go back to that pre-event check. You can share from the share menu. There are emojis. There's the ability to raise your hand. You can go full screen and you can enable closed captions, which I recommend because if people if you're presenting in English and English is not someone's native language, um, this just gives an additional support in terms of understanding what you're presenting. So consider using that. It does take up some screen real estate, but which is personal for each person. By the way, this is a setting for each person who's in the room. So these are your basic tools. You can customize some of this by clicking on the lightning bolt in the lower left-hand corner. This is where you'll find breakout rooms, which work very similar to Zoom. You can put a session banner up with like a link to your website or to your handout or whatever you want to share, and you can have it share. This button, this banner. It looks like this on the right. Um, Visible for your whole presentation or just for a few minutes. So that's one tool that you can take advantage of. Then attendee engagement tools mean confetti, emojis, the ability to raise your hand. You can turn this stuff off if you don't want to happen. Confetti looks like this. And it might be kind of annoying if people are clicking on their screen and doing a lot of confetti all the time. So if you want to turn that off, feel free to do that. And then there are different layouts depending on how many people you have in your presentation. It will look different. I'm using kind of right now a cinema view, which just shows my slides. If I were sharing my slides, but there are other ones here. Probably the fill one is the best one in general, but feel free to experiment with these. So those tools are under the lightning bolt in your left-hand corner. Now, sharing your screen, remember you should have whatever you're going to share open in separate tabs in your browser. And then you're going to click on this share menu. You'll be able to share your screen or a YouTube video link. Click on share screen. And you can see that I can share a Chrome tab, a window, or the entire screen. I do not recommend doing window and entire screen because it looks funny. I would do separate tabs. So let's say I want to share the slides that I just have been using. I click on the tab that has the slides. I want to make sure that any audio is available too by clicking on that little slider. And I click on share. And what it does is it opens up the presentation, that tab, in a separate tab. You can see that I have one tab called test here that is recording. It has a little red dot here, and there my slides are visible. Okay. But I manipulate them from this from this tab that has kind of a rectangle on it. And it says this tab's content is being shared. So this is where I would move my slides using the arrow keys on my computer, and everybody sees this. Okay, so it's kind of a two-tab thing. Google Meet kind of works this way too. So don't be surprised if you share your tab and you're like, where did my slides go? They're there, but you have to go to this tab with the rectangle on it to manipulate and change your slides. And this is where people will see things. So you're going to need to toggle back and forth if you want to see the chat and reactions to your presentation, that sort of thing. So you want to practice this ahead of time. Notice that in the upper left-hand corner, I can um, toggle back and forth. Oh, let's see if I can see it a little bit better here. Um, I can stop sharing. It tells me what I'm sharing to. So if I'm on this one, it's telling me I'm sharing this tab here, and I can go back and forth between the two by clicking here. Or I can go back and forth by clicking on the tabs up here. So just be aware of that. When I'm done sharing, I click on stop sharing. I go back to the presentation window and I'm visible again. So this takes a little bit of practice. It's not hard. It works really well. It looks really nice. Um, but just be aware of that. Okay, so that's there. And I don't think there's anything else to tell you about this, but just be aware that you are interacting with your attendees in your session tab. You can also collapse this side window if you want to. You can still access the tools on the right, but they're simply icons. So if you want to see things a little bit more cleanly, that strategy works as well. When you click on stop sharing audio and video on this session page, it will stop recording. So I'm going to click on stop. You can see that there's no recording going on. And in the background, in the back end, your recording is processing. And as soon as it's available, and we have time, we will publish it to the replay section. And we'll look at them to make sure that we're not that we've edited them a little bit if you've recorded your preparations or have rehearsal recordings. We won't publish those, so you don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to go back to the reception page. You'll see in the next week or so that this will have the schedule. It will have the bios of the speakers, and we'll open this to the public once the schedule is done and all the proposals are in, so that people get a chance to get oriented and ready for the conference. So without further ado, I know this is kind of a lengthy presentation, but hopefully it will give you some confidence in learning how to present on RingCentral events. I really believe that the future of adult learning and communication is in platforms like this because we can work easily across borders through technology like this. And I really appreciate the professional um, platform that RingCentral Events provides in terms of making that possible. I started doing virtual conferences in 2010 before platforms like this really existed. I did it with a partner and we used Ning for our community, Google Calendar for the schedule, and Blackboard Collaborate for the video conferencing. And those tools were not necessarily meant to work together. So we really kind of cobbled it together and it was really powerful and exciting because people were not collaborating back in 2010 to that degree. And so it's nice to see this evolution of tools that really have emerged, particularly post-pandemic or because of the pandemic. Um, and I hope we can do more events, particularly around democracy and bringing people together and teaching people to be more active in their communities around democracy. So thank you for your participation in this. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you online March 4th and 5th. Take care.